everybody, it's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be doing the anti-TBR tag. So the idea behind this one is rather than talking about the books that you really want to read, you talk about the books that you really don't want to read. So this tag was originally created by Nicole from Nicole and Her Books. I was tagged in this tag by Lauren from Literally Low. Sorry, Lauren. I will link both their channels in the description below so you can go and check them out and subscribe and do all those things. I'll also be tagging some people at the end of the tag who will also be in the description below so you can go and subscribe to them as well. So yeah, like I said, the idea behind this is that rather than talk about books that you're excited to read, you want to read, etc., you talk about books that you don't want to read. Before I get started doing the tag, I would like to preface this by saying, first of all, if I say a book or a series that you really love, it's not an attack on you, it's just my opinion. And also, I'm not saying that I will absolutely never ever read these books, even though a lot of the questions in this say that you never, or you absolutely won't. Never say never, right? I'm not going to 100% rule out some books, but I've chosen some books that I feel like I'm very unlikely to read or very unlikely to be interested in. Like I said, if any of these books are books that are favourites of yours, please don't be offended. It's just a bit of fun and it also is just my opinion. So there are 8 questions to the tag. I will of course be looking down this way quite a bit because that's where my computer is with all the questions and my answers. So yeah, let's just get on into it. Question number 1 is a popular book that everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. So for this one, I have chosen Empire of the Vampire by Kristoff. I'm just not interested in this book. It is really thick. I've heard some really unflattering reviews of this book and some really concerning issues with this book, so I'm just really uninterested in it. But even before that, I didn't have any interest. It didn't spark my interest at all. It didn't make me want to read it. It was super popular at the beginning of this year, I think, when it came out, and yeah, it got loads of different special editions through different book boxes and different things like that, and I just never had any interest, so there you go. So question number 2 is a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. I'm actually going to say War and Peace for this one. Again, it's a really thick book and I just don't want to read a really thick book that is all about war. I'm sure there's more going on than that. I have read some of Anna Karenina. I don't think I finished it, but it was reasonably interesting. So I know that Tolstoy is a good writer. A lot of people really enjoy his work, but yeah, just not something that I think that I would be particularly interested in. So question number 3 is kind of a 2-part question. So the first part says, an author whose books you have no interest in reading. And then 3.2 says a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading, and then it says that you can combine the 2 or you can do both or just pick one. I have been thinking for a little while that I might potentially make a video about problematic authors and just sort of discussing what that means and why I might choose not to read particular authors for whatever reason. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, then please let me know and I'll look into making that video at some point, probably in the new year. I don't necessarily think that an answer to just answering a tag like this, a question like this, is really going to go into the nuance of all of those things, why a person might be a problematic author versus what I think makes something they've said problematic and not them necessarily. However, I do have an answer to this question and it does answer both parts of the question, and it's actually Kristoff. Again, I've heard some really bad things about Kristoff as an author, as a person, and I've heard some fairly mixed things about the books that he's written. I know that there is some issues to do with him kind of basically just stealing aspects of different cultures and writing about them without any real attempt to research or understand what he was talking about. And I've heard some really problematic things from both the Nevernight series and, like I said, into Empire of the Vampire. The only book series of his that I was ever really interested in was the Nevernight series. Just really not interested in the rest of the books or the series that he's written, not just because of what I've heard about him as an author or a person, but they've just not really ever appealed to me in general. So yeah, J. Kristoff. Question number 4 is an author that you have read a couple of books from and you've decided that they're not really the author for you. I'm actually answering this question with an Australian Indigenous author, and that is Anita Heise. I just don't really like Anita Heise's writing style. It just doesn't mesh with the sorts of things that I enjoy. A couple of books of hers that I've read I have thought were okay. One I gave, I think, 2 stars to. I really didn't get along with. I've read a middle grade of hers that I really enjoyed and I thought would be really, really important for it to be in schools, in libraries and classrooms. But in general, she's just not really an author that is particularly for me. But I know that Meredith from Reading with Merv really, really likes her as an author, and I've heard quite a few different people say that they really like her as an author as well. Maybe I've just picked the wrong books, I don't know, but yeah, Anita Heise is the answer. Question number 5 says a genre that you have no interest in, or a genre that you've tried to get into but couldn't. I don't really 100% have an answer to this because I don't really read much horror, but it is something that I'm interested in potentially exploring. I've been recently exploring romance, so that's something that... Hello? Alright, she's gone. I'm back. So yes, as I was saying, I've recently been getting more into romance, which wasn't necessarily something I was reading before, but I'm, like I said, starting to kind of get into it a bit now. Same with graphic novels. I haven't necessarily loved graphic novels in the past, but I'm starting to read a bit more of them as well, although that's not necessarily a genre. Thought I'd mention it anyway. Another one is poetry. Again, that's not entirely a genre, but anyway, I'm still going to say it. I don't know if I've just not found the right poetry. There are a few poems and a few poets that I've enjoyed, a lot of them classics, but yeah, I'm just not really a poetry reader. So I'm not necessarily going to say that I will never read it, but it's something I'm struggling to get into. So yeah. Question number 6 is a book that you have bought but will never read. So for this one, I've chosen Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak. He is the author of The Book Thief, which is a book that I really, really enjoyed. I tried to read Bridge of Clay, so when it says will never read, I did try to read it. I didn't get very far and I DNF'd it. I just couldn't handle the writing style. It just didn't work for me at all. So yeah, that's the answer to that. Question number 7 says a series that you have no interest in reading or a series that you have started and DNF'd. So I'm actually going to answer both parts to this question with 2 different series. So the first answer to the question is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I don't know what the series is called, but the series that is the first book of. I just have no interest in reading that series. It doesn't appeal to me at all. Yeah, doesn't sound like the kind of thing I'd be interested in, and just have no interest. There's not enough time in life to read books you're not interested in. So yeah, that's that one. And then the second part of the question, the answer is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. The Caraval series, I read Caraval, it was fine. I think I gave it 3.5 stars, although realistically I should probably drop it down to a 3, maybe even a 2.5. I didn't love it. I was happy enough for reading it, but there were elements that I didn't like, elements that didn't work for me, and overall it was just meh. It was just a meh book, and again, there is not enough time and too many books to read a series that you're just meh about the first book on. So yeah, that one's been DNF'd. And then the final question, question number 8, is a new release that you have no interest in reading. This is the one that I think is where I'm probably going to get the most amount of negative reactions. But again, this is just my personal opinion. If you like this book, then that's fantastic. But my answer to this question is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've only read one other book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which was Daisy Jones and the Six. Again, it was okay, but I didn't love it. I am interested in reading The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think that might be the book that is most likely to be the one that I will enjoy, but I just am not interested in Carrie Soto. I'm not interested in tennis as a sport. I find watching tennis incredibly boring. I have heard that tennis is actually a really, really big part of the book and that it goes into a lot of detail about tennis, which is not something that I'm interested in. So yeah, not interested in that book. So yeah, those are the questions. I am now going to tag some people. So I'm going to tag Cara from Wild Book Garden. I am going to tag Chloe from Chloe Reads Books. I'm going to tag Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading. I'm going to tag Neva from Reading with Neva. And I am going to tag Vish from Books with V. So you're all tagged if you want to do the tag. If you were not tagged but you would like to do the tag anyway, I tag you as well. Please comment below what you thought of my answers. Please be kind. It's not intended to offend, but you're allowed to tell me if you are not happy with my answer, but just please be kind. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me the emoji because we are anti. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy this video and I will see you next time.